Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. Right now it is Sunday, but we're going to go over SmackDown from Friday. And again, I feel I should apologize for not getting this up sooner. I just got done taking my notes for it. My usual source for watching SmackDown online is... well, I don't really know what his deal is, but he still doesn't even have it up. So I wound up watching it from something else, and so yeah. I watched it from another source, and I wound up having to get information from two different sources because the version of it that I watched was apparently the international version, which had a few things cut out. But I did find a full list of spoilers for the show, or results I should say, and the stuff that they cut out, I have that, so it'll be at the end. So, just bear with me here. So anyways, the show starts. This was SmackDown from Friday, July 12th, 2013, and it was from Hampton, Virginia. The show starts out with Daniel Bryan coming out, and as he's coming out, they show a recap of him attacking Punk and Randy Orton from Raw this past Monday. And he, of course, climbed the ladder and grabbed the briefcase, symbolism, yada yada. Point is, they recapped that, and then Christian comes out. Okay, so we've got Bryan versus Christian. This match was decent. It went back and forth. They went to a commercial. Bryan goes for the big Benoit headbutt again, but Christian moves out of the way. Later on, Christian goes for the spear, but Bryan counters it by doing like a kick, just like a regular kick, kind of like a rising kick, like a punt to the head sort of kick, kind of. But whatever. So he counters that. He had already done the repeating chest kicks down while he had Christian down on his knees. But Christian ducked the big roundhouse to the head. But after countering the spear, he was able to get the big roundhouse head kick. And then he gets Christian into the corner, and he's repeating kicks in the corner. And then, of course, the ref is counting because you can't keep the guy in the corner for too long. So he gets to about 4, and then Bryan turns around, runs across to the other corner, slams up against it, comes screaming back, hits the big drop kick to the teeth in the corner, and then he goes back across again to go for another big drop kick, but as he's coming back, Christian charges and hits the spear. But he goes for the cover, and he only gets a 2 count. The finish of the match comes. They were in a different corner, and Christian had been thrown in face first, so he's slumped face first up against the corner. And Bryan goes to charge him, but Christian does that little reverse, like, mule kick and kicks Bryan in the gut. But then he jumps up to the second rope to go for like a springboard off of it. He goes for the springboard, and Bryan catches him in midair, sweeps him down, gets him on his face, gets him into the no lock or the yes lock or the whatever in the fuck it's called lock. Let's just call it the label lock. He gets him locked into it, and Christian has to tap out. So Bryan wins. Clean. Cool. After that, they cut backstage to Teddy in his office. So they cut backstage to Teddy in his office, and he's on the phone with somebody, but he has to call him back, and because up comes Dolph Ziggler. And Teddy looks at him and says, "You know what? You've been doing a heck of a job lately, but I'm giving you the night off tonight, playa." And Teddy looks at him like, "What?" And he says, "But I don't want the night off. I want to be out there. I want to be fighting, But Teddy says, all due respect, I have Del Rio in a match later on with Sin Cara, and I don't want there to be any interference because you know what happened on Raw. So he doesn't want any interference, so he says, I'm giving you the night off. Go ahead and go on back to the hotel room or whatever, player. You have a good night. Right, so he says you got the night off, and that's... Oh. But yeah, so that's the end of that segment. After that, the Shield comes out, and the Usos come out as well. But apparently it's just going to be a one-on-one match, Rollins versus Jey Uso. And this was one of the things that got cut out of the version that I saw. I took notes on it anyways, because I was looking at the video of it, and then I had the text results in a different tab. But anyways, so just a short, brief summary of the ending of the match. Rollins does his big springboard flying knee to the back of the head on Jey Uso, and he hits that and he gets the win. And after the match, the Shield celebrates on the announce table. So yeah. After that, Jericho comes out, and and then Axel comes out with Paul Heyman again. And they start having a match. And again, just brief sort of notes. Axel hits the rope-hung neckbreaker again. Jericho goes for the walls of Jericho, but Axel counters out of it into a small package, but only gets 2. Jericho hits an enziguri. Axel gets thrown out of the ring. Jericho goes for a baseball slide, but Axel dodges it, and then just clotheslines the shit out of Jericho on the outside of the ring. And even the commentators were like, damn, that one hit hard, you know? And I'm like, yeah, I don't really see it, but whatever. I guess, you know, taking shit on the outside of the ring can suck, but, you know. So, yeah. After that, Axel picks Jericho back up and throws him back into the ring. And then Axel goes to get back in the ring himself. And as he's getting back in, he goes through the ropes. Jericho grabs him and code breakers him through the ropes. And then Axel, of course, he's still hung in the ropes. He falls, he hits the apron, he hits the floor, and he's on the outside of the ring. And the referee starts counting. And Axel gets counted out. So Jericho wins by count out. He leaves. After Axel finally gets up, he's, you know, selling this code breaker like it was friggin' gruesome death. But he gets up and he's pissed off. He tears up the announce table. He tears the top part off of it, and he tears this other shit off of it. Whatever. But he's tearing it up, and Heyman's like, stop, what are you doing, you know? He calms Axel down, and they finally leave. And they cut to a commercial. So they cut to another commercial. They come back, and Teddy and all the divas are in the ring. There's a big table set up. And yeah, we're setting up for a contract signing between AJ and Kaitlyn. And you might be wondering, why are we doing this segment with the divas? Well, this sort of seems to happen whenever there's like a heated feud. So, since Kaitlyn and AJ has been rather heated, it does seem fitting to do this. But at the other hand, it does still seem kind of weird because it's still just the divas. But you know what? The segment actually wasn't so bad. Yeah, but anyways, what happens? So they're all in the ring, and AJ and Kaitlyn are sat down at the table, and Teddy's talking, he's saying, we need you to have this contract signing. And so AJ starts talking, and she's saying, you know, I've embarrassed you, Kaitlyn, and blah, blah, blah. She's in the middle of her spiel, and Teddy cuts her off and says, hey, look, we ain't got time for this. We need you to sign the damn thing. So AJ's like, okay, fine, and she signs the contract. And then she looks at Kaitlyn and she's like, she goes to hand her the pen. But she's like, no, I want you to think about this because I don't think this is a good idea for you, Kaitlyn. But Layla reaches over the table and snatches the pen away from AJ anyways, and then hands it to Kaitlyn. And so Kaitlyn signs the contract, and then AJ decides to keep talking. And she's saying, you know, I'm going to give you one more chance to tear up the contract and just run away and don't ever come back. Because she has some more embarrassing stuff. She whips out her phone and she says, all those texts that you sent to the secret admirer way back, I still have those on Big E's phone. Or I guess it was Big E's phone, I don't know. But she pulls out her phone and she starts reading these texts. And the first one was about Natalya. And essentially what the text was, and this, again, I want to reiterate, this was coming from Kaitlyn. This was messages that Kaitlyn sent to the secret admirer. Kaitlyn said, you know, she's talking about Natalya. She says she's my friend, but really all she talks about is Kali. And then she says, you know, never trust a Neidhart. And so Natalya looks kind of disgusted, and she actually leaves the ring. And you can't really blame her because this, you know, kind of messed up. But she moves on to the Funkadactyls, Cameron and Naomi, who are also standing there. And what the text said was, you know, they say they're my friends, but really they just care about the new Divas show on the E! Network. Whatever. It wasn't really all that bad, or at least it didn't seem all that bad, so I don't really see what the big deal was with that. But she continues on, AJ does, she continues reading off these texts. Or no, wait. After the one about the Funkadactyls, Kaitlyn reaches over the table and grabs the phone away from AJ. I don't know if she smashed it or if she just threw it away, but AJ says, you know what, that's okay, because Big E here is really good with technology and really good at pointing. And so Big E points up to the Titantron, and up there on the Titantron there's this big graphic. It shows a picture of Kaitlyn, and next to it is the text of the text message of the next one. And I forget what this one was about. It was just Kaitlyn kind of like spilling her guts, you know, you accept me for who I am instead of, you know, like everybody who used to, you know, put me into this mold of being a bodybuilder and, you know. but right. So, anyways, after that, Kaitlyn finally decides to talk. And she says, you know what, I've had enough of you doing all this crap just to embarrass me. And I've had enough of you being all boy crazy and psychotic and manipulative. And she's going on and on about it. And then she calls AJ crazy. And of course, we all know how AJ hates being called crazy. So as soon as Kaitlyn calls her crazy, AJ reaches over the table and just full-on bitch slaps Kaitlyn across the face. And, you know, Kaitlyn looks not really shocked, but she's like, oh, you done did it now, sucker. You know. She turns back to AJ, she shoves her, and AJ falls sitting down into her big office chair that she has. And then Kaitlyn, after that, grabs the table and shoves it, and it's pushing AJ back. She shoves the whole thing back into a corner. And she basically corners AJ. She gets on top of the table, and she just starts punching the fuck out of her in this thing. And Big E comes over and pulls her off. By now, all the Divas and Teddy Long have pretty much split. So Big E pulls Kaitlyn off and takes her all the way over to the opposite corner. And he finally puts Kaitlyn down, and she turns around and just totally bitch slaps Big E upside the head. And Big E's kind of not really in shock, but he's just like, oh, bitch. Oh, you gonna get it now. But then Kaitlyn turns around. AJ's finally getting up after, and she's out of the corner. Kaitlyn runs and spears the fuck out of AJ. And AJ goes down in a crumpled heap. She's dead, selling it like crazy. And Kaitlyn gets the hell out of the ring. Big E's still, you know, like, rubbing his face like, bitch, that hurt. I'm gonna get you. So, Kaitlyn gets the hell out of the ring, and I think Layla was there next to her, whoop-de-doo. They cut to a commercial. After that, Del Rio comes out, and apparently it's time for his match that he's supposed to have with Sin Cara. So, Del Rio comes out, he's in the ring. Sin Cara's music hits, and he starts coming out, but it's pretty obvious right off the bat that this ain't Sin Cara. He looks way too tall, and he also, not to sound racist or anything, but he doesn't look as Mexican. Like, you can just tell by his skin tone, this is a white dude, not, you know, Sin Cara, who's a Latin guy, you know. Not only that, but like I said, he looks taller. So I'm like, okay, that's not Sin Cara. And I'd already heard about this segment on Facebook. But anyways, Sin Cara, air quotes, comes out and he does his little thing, his little hopping on the stage. He does his little point, and then he runs down to the ring and he dives in like he normally does. But instead of, you know, doing his little flip off of the ropes like he normally does, he just goes right after Del Rio, tackles him, starts punching him, just attacking him. And Del Rio's trying to get away. He rolls out of the ring and he tries to get away up the ramp, but Sin Cara comes out, grabs him, throws him back into the ring, wails on him a little bit more, and then gets up. He waits for Del Rio to get up, and he nails the zigzag on Del Rio. And the commentators are like, what the fuck? That can't possibly be Sin Cara. And this is the funniest part. Sin Cara, again, air quotes, gets up and he starts grinding his hips like Ziggler does. And he even does the little slicking the hair back and flicking it pose that Ziggler does. And I'm looking at him because they get a wide shot and I'm like, he's wearing Ziggler's boots! Obviously, the shtick is that it was Ziggler in Sin Cara's outfit. And mask, of course. But he forgot to put on the other boots. That just... I guess they weren't the right size. But anyways, they cut to another commercial. They come back, and Zeb Coulter is on commentary, and Swagger and Cesaro are there with him. They're not on commentary, but they're just there like bodyguards. Wade Barrett is already in the ring, and then Fandango comes out, with Summer, of course. And they start having a match, Barrett and Fandango. It's a short match. Barrett's dominating in the early going. He's wailing on Johnny. And he gets Johnny in the corner, and all of a sudden, out come Cody Rhodes and Damian Sandow, the Rhodes Scholars. They come out. They don't really do anything, but they go over to where Swagger and Cesaro are. They come over there, and they just start arguing with Cesaro and Swagger. So they're doing that, and Zeb gets up, and they're all whatever, and Barrett's like, what the fuck? He's distracted by it. Johnny's up in the corner, and he kicks Barrett in the face using the distraction. He kicks Barrett in the face, he jumps down out of the corner, and he schoolboy rolls up Barrett for the 1-2-3. So Johnny gets the win, and then he bails, of course, and that's basically the end of that segment. They cut back over to the commentators, who say that due to the attack on Monday by the Wyatt family, Kane will not be able to compete this Sunday at Money in the Bank. So, yeah, Kane got hurt, apparently, so he's not medically cleared. He won't be able to compete. So, what I'm afraid of is who's going to be replacing him in the match. Because, so help me God, if Wyatt replaces him in the match, not only that, but actually wins as well, if that's what happens, I'm going to be pissed. Because this Wyatt guy ain't nothing but shit. There is no reason to push this hack.
I don't have enough mana.
Right, but anyways. Right, but anyways, so they're talking about that, and then they decide to recap the attack, and also this was something else that was cut out of the version that I saw, but apparently the Wyatts come out and cut a promo, and Bray shows the footage of them attacking and whatever the fuck. Who gives a damn? They cut backstage where you can see Sin Cara walking, and this time it actually looks like Sin Cara. He's walking down through one of the halls, and Teddy comes up behind him. He's like, Dolph, yo, Dolph Ziggler, come on, player. He still thinks it's Dolph. But he finally catches up to Sin Cara, and Cara's like, Dolph? Who dat? You know? Even though he doesn't speak English. But he's like, what? He doesn't really say what, but he's just like, shrugging, like, you know. But he's like, what was all that out there, player? But then Dolph comes up from the other side, and he kind of puts his arm around Teddy, and he's like, hey, how's it going? He's like, I know you gave me the night off, but he pulls out his phone. He says, I forgot my phone in the locker room, so I came back for it. I hope that's okay. And then he splits, and okay, whatever. That segment peters off. I thought that was funny as fuck. Ziggler's just trolling hard right now. He really wanted to get his hands on Del Rio so bad that he takes Sin Cara's outfit. I thought that was funny as fuck. But anyway, so that's the end of that segment. And they cut back out to the arena where Sheamus comes out. So it's time for the main event. Sheamus comes out, and then Randy comes out. They start having their match. I did not take too much notes on this because I really didn't give a shit at this point. I just wanted to get the thing over with and get to recording, of course. But the end of the match is both Randy and Sheamus. They basically do I think Sheamus clotheslines Randy over the top rope, but Sheamus goes out with him. So they're both out on the floor. And the referee starts counting, and he gets up to about 6, and then you can see somebody running down the rampway coming towards the ring. And he finally gets closer, and you see, sure enough, it's Daniel Bryan again, come to steal the spotlight or whatever the fuck. But he comes out, he pulls out a ladder, shoves it into the ring, and he picks it up, and by this time, Randy and Sheamus have both gotten up, and they get back into the ring at the same time, but Bryan's got the ladder up, and he just slams it into both of them at the same time. So the ref calls for the bell, double DQ. So after that, that basically knocks out both Sheamus and Randy. They roll out of the ring. Bryan sets up the ladder and climbs it, and he's up to the top. Sheamus gets back in the ring and grabs Bryan, wails on him, brings him back down, whatever the fuck. He throws Bryan away. Sheamus starts climbing the ladder. This all just seems really pointless because it's not like this is the actual match. So I'm just puzzled as to why this really matters. But whatever. So Sheamus climbs up, and Christian comes out of nowhere, and he grabs Sheamus and pulls him down, and then Christian goes to climb the ladder. Sheamus comes back and pulls him down, and then Sheamus climbs the ladder again, and Christian climbs up on the other side, and they're fighting on top, and Christian clocks Sheamus, and he falls off. Sheamus falls off, that is. And then Christian is up there by himself, but Bryan comes back out of nowhere, and he knocks the ladder over, and Christian gets snake-eyed on the ropes, basically, so he falls out of the ring. He's out. And then Bryan goes to climb the ladder again. So, Bryan... Bryan sets the ladder back up after he knocked it over. And then Randy comes out of nowhere from behind, hits the RKO on Bryan. And that wipes Bryan out. So, that leaves Randy all by himself in the ring. And he's looking up, He looks up and he's like, oh yeah. He climbs up, and he actually grabs the briefcase and takes it down. So he's left standing tall at the top of the ladder when the show ends. So that was the end of the show. But as I said, I had a couple of extra notes. After the Jericho and Curtis Axel match, Ryback and The Miz had a rematch, essentially, of the one from the other week where Ryback just quit like a bitch because Miz was working his leg. But, let's see, they have their rematch, but Ryback fakes an injury, and then he hits the meat hook clothesline on Miz and gets the win. So that happened. After that, Sheamus was backstage and he had an interview where he was just talking about, beating Randy later tonight and, winning the Money in the Bank, whatever. So there was that. After the segment with Del Rio being attacked by Sin Cara, Vicky came out and got booed. She was trying to say something, but Teddy comes out and he has security escort her out of the building while the crowd sings goodbye to her. And that happened before the Sheamus and Randy match, the main event. So that was the whole show. And yeah. So yeah. Had a couple of at least decent matches. Bryan and Christian to kick off the match to kick off the show was decent. I didn't actually see Rollins versus Jey Uso, so I can't really tell you. Jericho and Axel wasn't really all that great, kind of meh. Barrett and Fandango was a short match, but it was alright, I guess. Sheamus and Orton, I didn't watch it because I didn't really give a fuck. But it went for a while, I could tell you that much. I'm sure it was probably at least alright. So there's that. Right, so anyways, like I said earlier, they talked about Kane not being able to compete because of supposedly being hurt from the shot with the stairs that didn't even come close to hitting his face. Yeah. Like I said before, I swear, if they use this to put Bray Wyatt into the fucking All-Stars match, the Money in the Bank match, and if not only that, but he wins the damn thing, I'm gonna be pissed. This guy is a fat fucking joke. He sucks at promos, he's not that good in the ring, and he's fucking ugly. He's a hoss. And so are his two little schmuck lackeys. They already should have known not to bother with him after Monday when his debut segment flopped. The crowd's chanting Husky Harris and all that. After that, you guys should have known to just fucking flush it down the toilet. Just don't even bother and just write it off as nothing. I just hate that they think they're going to keep rolling with this crap, even though it's pretty obvious that only a few marks really care. People who are actually marks for this piece of shit. But whatever. The fans shit all over it, chanting Husky Harris. They don't care. I sure as hell don't care. It's not that great of a gimmick anyways. It's what? It's the same sort of Waylon Mercy crap that failed back in the early 90s. So why bother trying it again? But yeah. So I really hope they're not going to do that. The pay-per-view is going to be later tonight, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I will be doing that, and I will be watching live tonight, and I will be taking my notes, so I will be getting the video up for that later on tonight. So do, keep an eye out for that. We're going to have to see what happens. In my opinion, Wyatt shouldn't even show his face on the pay-per-view. He's not really involved in anything, and he shouldn't be, because he sucks, and he doesn't deserve it. So, whatever they were thinking about doing with this guy, they might as well forget about it. He sucks. He's not worth it. He's just a fat hoss with no charisma, no personality, just a stupid Waylon Mercy knockoff, half Charles Manson, just mumbling, rambling incoherently, screaming about monsters, and it's dumb. It's a really lame, cheesy gimmick. They're trying to make it seem like he's scary. He ain't fucking scary. He's a doughy, stringy-haired hillbilly from the South. And he comes from a wrestling family that wasn't even really all that great to begin with. So he's kind of got that Cody Rhodes sort of thing to him. And yeah, sorry, but I don't see much of a future for Cody Rhodes either. But then again, that's just my opinion. Anyways, that's the end of the show. I don't want to waste too much more time. So that will wrap it up for this episode of the Wrestling Rant. I will get this up as soon as possible, and then later on tonight we will be doing Money in the Bank, so stay tuned for that. So, stay tuned for that. Thank you very much, and bye.